Welcome into the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com. Tom Leach, along with Keeneland's director of simulcasting, Jim Goodman, as we take a look at 3 graded stakes races at Gulfstream and 2 out at Santa Anita on the Saturday card. And Jim, let's start with Grade 3 Hal's Hope. And who did you like in this test for 4-year-olds and up at a flat mile?
Yeah, they drew a small field here, only 6 horses in Hal's Hope, and but one of the horses a year ago we were talking about him being the best older horse in America. Lee won the Don Handicap last year with a 114 buyer, but then had some injury issues and hadn't raced since then. So coming off 11-month layoff, Lee is probably going to be the favorite. As is my want, I'm probably going to pick against the winner here, but I like Valid here. The horse came out, almost won the Harlan's Holiday at Gulfstream. Great prep race for this. Got a 111 buyer and is very consistent. 6 plus 100 buyers out of the last 7 races, and nothing worse than a 96 on the page going all the way back to December of 2013. So I'm going to take Valid here. 7 for 21 lifetime, 3 for 5 Gulfstream. I think probably obviously has a recency advantage over Lee. I'm going to take Lee second. Really looking forward to seeing him come back. Bill Mott can get him ready off a long layoff, but I'm going to think he's going to need this at a mile and getting ready for something bigger down the road. And probably my third choice would be Golden Lad here, simply horse for course, 3 for 4 at Gulfstream Park. But Valid over Lee would be my cold exacta.
I'm right there with you. I like Valid. He's 3 for 5 at Gulfstream, 3 for 6 at a mile, and the fact that he's had a race and a good race, and the other 2 have long layoffs. That's what tipped it for me. And I think you get a little value there because I agree with you. I think Lee's going to be the favorite, and with Pletcher, Golden Lad might well be second, although it'll probably be Valid. So Valid, my pick as well in the Grade 3 Hal's Hope. 8th race is for fillies and mares 4 and up at a mile and the 16th on the turf. It's the Grade 3 Marshawas River, and my first inclination was to go to the newcomer to Chad Brown's barn, Summer Moon, and I may regret not doing it, but I ended up coming back to Strike Charmer. Like that race in November at Churchill. I've always liked this horse. Saw her run her debut at Keeneland. She finished like a freight train at a big price, and then came back and won a couple of starts later. And it just seemed like she's got some ability. And maybe the last race she put it all together because it was her best start of her career. And maybe she's ready to take her game to another level. So I'm going to take Strike Charmer for David Carroll, and Summer Moon, and then Candy Kitty and Paranda. And what I would do is put all 4 of those in a box because I'm not locked in on Strike Charmer as the surefire winner. I got to pick somebody, so I'll pick Strike Charmer, but a 4-horse box with the 4, 7, 3, 5 for me. How about you?
It's funny when you look at PPs and you're looking at past performances and races that occurred in the past. It brings back painful memories, and Strike Charmer is one of those for me because there were 2 horses that the Cardinal Handicap. There were 2 horses I was between. Was trying to qualify for my second spot in the National Handicapping Championship on November 22nd, and I didn't take Strike Charmer. Strike Charmer was coming out of a Kentucky Downs race, and I really liked those horses that came back at either Keeneland or Churchill. And I took the other one. Strike Charmer won, and it was 12-1, so that would have gotten me my second spot. So Strike Charmer beat me in November. I'm not going to pick her today because I'm not going to go to the funeral if I didn't go to the wedding. So I'm going to take her second. I'm going to take Veranda on top, coming out of the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. Only got beat by 4 1/4 lengths by Day at the Spa and Stephanie's Kitten, and was right there at the top of the stretch. And I'm gonna think that she's got a back class edge on these. Although I like Strike Charmer the way she's coming into the race. Strike Charmer would be my second choice, so my exacta box would be 3, 4. And Summer Moon, I think Chad Brown, you've got to take any horse coming over from overseas, and Chad Brown gets a hold of her. So I think those are my 3 horses as well. I'm going to take Paranda on top of Strike Charmer.
We'll jump to the 10th race. It's the Grade 2 Fort Lauderdale, 4-year-olds and up on the turf at a mile and a 16th. And nice big field here. Good betting race. Who'd you land on?
Yeah, I think this is close to an all if you're playing any pick 4s. I landed on the back class of Za Approval. If you go back to his last few races, he's raced against Tygun, Up with Birds, Jack Milton, Wise Dan, Winning Prize. So obviously every race that he's been in has been a class race, and a lot of grade 1s. Going from Clement to Cassie on a turf course is probably not as good a move as you'd like, but Mark Cassie is a really good trainer, and I'm going to take Za Approval on top, although this race is wide open. I'm hoping he clears me outside and controls the pace. A second choice is Lochte, a horse for the course, 4 for 5 at Gulfstream Park, and has won some big races there, including the Gulfstream Park Turf Handicap last year, Grade 1. And my third choice, I could take a lot in here, but the 3 horse, and I'm not sure, I don't think there's enough vowels in this word, but I'm going to say Miss a Wish maybe, and they didn't spell it correctly, but Pletcher's horse for Castellano has a shot to get the money, and also intrigued a little bit by Silver Freak on the inside for Brian Lynch. I think that if the track is favoring speed that day, if there's a couple turf races you can watch before this one has enough speed that Le Peroux's probably going to take him to the front and see how far he can go. So those are my 4 horses, but Za Approval is my choice, the 11 horse.
I started to go to Za Approval, and then the more I looked at it, the more I thought, don't like that 11 post, and because this horse has some speed. So who'd I pick? I picked the 12 horse, but the 12 horse comes from way out of it, and I think can negotiate the outside post better than a horse that has early speed or would want to be on the lead. And I went back and looked at Moutin's last race, and it was his first race in this country for Kieran McLaughlin. Ran a nice 97 Beyer, and it was a little bit of a trouble line. It was a good field. It was a little bit of a trouble line. I went back and watched the race, and from the far turn, this horse is ready to run and can't. And turning for home, jockey's got this head cocked sideways, trying to get him out. Middle of the stretch, still hadn't found a clear path. Finally, about a 16th to go, it opens up, and he explodes and outfinishes Sky Blazer to win the race. And I just thought that was a real impressive effort, and now McLaughlin puts him down here in this Grade 2 stake off that run. So I'm going to take Moutin, the 12, use him with Lochte, the 2, the 3, Mishawish, however you pronounce that, and also the 7, Grand Tito. You make a good point on the 1. I might throw the 1 in there as well, but my key horse is going to be the 12, Moutin. Santa Anita, their 6th race is the Grade 3 Sham. It's a Derby prep for 3-year-olds at a flat mile. And who did you go with here?
Well, it seems the Calculator is going to be the big favorite off those 2 races against American Pharaoh, who was probably the best 2-year-old before he got hurt. He's not going to be much of a price, but the figures stand out, but he's still a maiden. So 0 for 4 with two really great races against a great racehorse. I'm figuring he's going to be 7 to 5, 8 to 5. I'm going to take him on top, but I'm going to put Unblunted, the 4 horse, with him. I like Joe Talamo. Talamo gets off Papa Cool, and maybe I'm hoping that Unblunted just didn't like the synthetic at Golden Gate. They brought him back in December off about a month and a half layoff. The last race he ran at Santa Anita was the best race of his life out of 3 lifetime races. Went off at 9 to 1 and 1 for fun, won by almost 3 lengths after going wide in the stretch. So he brought him back in the Gold Rush at Golden Gate, and that synthetic track is a little bit quirky up there. So maybe he just didn't like that. So I'm going to try to beat Calculator with Unblunted, the 4, probably box him in Exacta and play trifectas with both of them on top. The other horse that I like, because I don't know, is Rockin' at 10. Doug O'Neill, Bejarano, shifting over from the East Coast, ran at Gulfstream West and won by 8 3/4. So this is obviously a just turned 3-year-old that got really good in his late 2-year-old season with an 86 Beyer. So don't know about him. I'm going to take Unblunted and Calculator on top of Rockin' at 10. I guess I should just put it all together.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Rockin' at 10, but that was really hard to read. So
no, I didn't get it either until you just said that. That is it. You're right. I had no strong opinion on this race. Calculator, I just didn't have a good feeling. Maiden, and also the fact maybe he's better than I think he is. I'm just not particularly high on him, so I'm looking for somebody else. I went to his stablemate, Rock Shandy. Horse has run its best races in the 2-turn races. A little bit wide last time. Hadn't been on the dirt, but is out of a Stormcat mare, so should be able to handle it, and has some speed. So I'm going to kind of fish around a little bit, take the 5, Rock Shandy. Not a real strong opinion. I would use Calculator, 6, Papa Cool, and the 3, Rockin' at 10. All of those with Rock Shandy. And you get a little bit of a price on Rock Shandy if that happens to be correct. 8th race, I'm not going for a price. The Grade 2 San Pasquale, 4-year-olds and up at a mile on the 16th. I couldn't get past Opportunity, the 2s. A Grade 1 winner in the Clark. And now third off a layoff, just a brief freshening, but had a long layoff, and now this is the 3rd start off that long layoff, so it might be even better for Baffert, training well. So it's Opportunity for me. If I'm betting this race, I would look at the prices and try to find somebody that could finish underneath at a price in the exacta. If they don't bet Tonito M, the 11 horse, that might be one to look at. The 6 Bronzo and the 3 Majestic Harbor, who ran horrible in the Breeders' Cup, but is better than that on a good day. So opportunity is the key for me, and try to find value underneath in the exacta. How about you?
I'm right with you. Tonito M was my value play here because I really liked that Oklahoma Derby where he went to Remington.
I did too. You're right.
Yeah, Bejarano rode him there, and I thought that was a gift that day. That was actually one of my better handicapping days. I don't do Remington very often, but I thought that he was a really good bet that day. They brought him back in the Zia Park Derby after about a 2-month layoff. He obviously needed the race. He went off at 3-5, but the horse that beat him, Alert Bay, came back and won. And Proceed, the horse that ran third, came back and won. So Tonito M comes out of a key race and comes off of a really good race last fall in Oklahoma. So I think if anybody's going to give an opportunity a tussle, it probably is Tonito M, but I'm going to go with opportunity on top as well. Third choice was probably Appealing Tale, the 10. Ran the best 3 races of his life. This is a good exercise in handicapping. If you look at the past performances here, if you look at the last 3 races, you're not going to bet this horse. But all you got to do is go back to January, February, March at Santa Anita in 2014, and the buyer figures were 104, 103, 106, with 2 wins and a second. So if he didn't like Churchill, they shipped him over and ran the Ali Sheba, and he got off to a bad start and didn't run well. They bring him back to Santa Anita, run him on turf. He didn't like that, and now he's got a prep race, the Midnight Loot at Santa Anita. They weren't pointing for that. He goes off at 31-1. He runs a really good third to Distinctive Passion. I think he's got a shot to get the money and possibly pull an upset simply because he likes Santa Anita so well.
Interesting.
So, at a mile distance last year, he was just almost impossible to beat at a little bit lower level. But I'm going to take him at a price underneath Opportunity with maybe a little bit of side win bet.
Yeah, and there's always a chance, Opportunity's not fully cranked because they're pointing, I'm sure, for the Santa Anita handicap. Yeah, that's good.
It's a nice betting race, I think, once you get past the favorites.
Yeah, because if you could take a stand against the favorite, you're going to get well paid if you can be correct. You have anything special going on for simulcast patrons out at Keeneland?
We the whole month of January, we had a really good Friday night handicapping contest. The first Friday, we had 113 entries. So first place was $1,250 for a $35 investment, and we feed you, give you a program, and you bet on Turfway, Penn National, Delta Downs, and the last few races at Santa Anita and Golden Gate. So it starts at 6 o'clock every Friday night in January, and then 2 weekends in February and 2 weekends in March. So those are qualifiers for our Tournament of the Champions. We got that going on this weekend. You got some stakes action that we just highlighted at Gulfstream and at Santa Anita, and you also got some nice racing at Fairgrounds. One thing, in case you haven't heard, Oaklawn canceled racing for this weekend because of the frozen track, so they're putting off their opening weekend until next week. So there won't be any Oaklawn racing, but there'll be plenty of racing from warm Gulfstream and Tampa. So come out to Keeneland or bet on Keeneland Select, and the racing is starting to get a lot better if you notice the quality of the stakes races.
And we'll be back with another edition of the In the Money podcast next weekend for KeenelandSelect.com.